Check and mate. This podcast is finished. Victor Andrew.
Victor Charlie.
Roger Dodger.
Romeo Yukon?
Foxtrot.
Is Yukon one of them? Yodel?
Maybe, yeah. I worry that would sound too much like hotel.
What's X? X-ray?
X-ray, yeah. Any other questions about the phonetic alphabet?
M. Moving on.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? I've always wanted to have a neighbor just like you. I've always wanted to live in a neighborhood with you.
Well, it's another beautiful day in Mr. Rogers' neighborhood.
And he asks us if it's a beautiful day in our neighborhood.
But he's wrong.
Well, he says sometimes it's a beautiful day on the outside, sometimes it's a beautiful day on the inside.
I mean, it's a beautiful night.
That's true. It actually has been. It has been unseasonably warm.
We're kind of in the beautiful day inside territory for the next half a year.
That's what you get living north of 100th meridian. No, that's horizontal.
Parallel.
Yeah, I always get confused because it's
Because they converge at the top.
well, I get confused because the Tragically Hip, a famously Canadian band, wrote a song about the 100th meridian. So in the back of my mind, part of me always thinks that must be the U.S.-Canada border. But no, as the song goes on to say, it's where the Great Plains begin.
You know, Tragically Hip were ahead by a century.
Yeah, that's true.
We're on episode 1498, or volume 2, episode 13. Mr. Rogers is anticipating Barney Tro.
Yeah, that plot's still going on.
Yeah, Bob Tro still wants him looking after his dog, I guess.
Do you think tomorrow we get an episode where we have to kill a lot of time returning the dog?
Maybe.
Or do we go all edgy and this is like, oh no, Barney died? Then Mr. Rogers has to go around to find an identical looking golden retriever.
Mr. Rogers does say later to Bob Tro, he doesn't say, oh, you don't have to worry. He says, I hope you don't have to worry. Which is just kind of ominous.
It was a little ominous.
Like, I hope you've entrusted your dog to the right person. I can't
Whoa.
give you my vote of confidence, but I hope you're right.
I mean, his wife seemed dubious on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't sure he was going to walk it.
Last week, yeah.
But yeah, so he goes out to the front porch to await the arrival of Barney Tro, as the McFeelys like to call it anyways.
Mr. Rogers waits on the swing that we will remember a grandmother friend gave to him.
Right, that's true.
Way back in season 1.
Before it was in Keller.
And he sings a song that sounds like the first draft of the theme song.
He's sitting on the swing and he says, you know, it's nice sometimes to just have a quiet moment and listen to the swing. And then he launches into the song. Does it still count as a quiet moment if somebody starts singing? Because in my experience, it does not.
It can,
and people do not care for it.
It can in a musical if you assume that the people in the musical aren't literally singing.
That's true.
But Mr. Rogers...
But even then, this is a pretty swingy song he sings.
Yeah, the song is about, it's a perfectly beautiful day for playing or staying inside or playing outside.
Mr. Rogers doesn't care what you do.
He
Couldn't be bothered.
Nonpartisan on this issue.
Yeah. He didn't care.
Mrs. McFeely stops by.
Mrs. McFeely stops by.
This is kind of our first...
A precedent has been set.
Our first meeting with Mrs. McFeely, Betsy McFeely.
What do we know about Mrs. McFeely? She loves animals.
She loves animals, and I guess her job, maybe just how she occupies her time, is just showing her various animals to school classes.
Yeah, it's a little unclear to me if she is a school person who is bringing an animal or an animal person who is visiting a school.
It sounded from context of what she was saying that she's an animal person bringing to school.
But an animal person isn't a real job.
She, like her husband, Mr. McFeely, is also a young person who is disguised as an old person.
Yeah, less obvious, but we don't really get a close-up on her.
I mean, maybe that's just how the McFeelys have chosen to live their lives. They're like, this is where we're headed, so let's embrace it
Right.
early.
They're like furries, but for oldness.
Yeah.
Okay.
Andrew is very tired this episode.
Yeah,
This
because
day in our
it's
neighborhood.
like 7,
It's 6:45.
so it's like 7.
Yeah, but like,
Cat woke me up at 5, actually.
I see.
Yeah.
Uh,
The parrot is named Daisy. It likes eating the inside of grapes.
yeah, it eats the. I imagine that's how most parrots do it: eat the inside and
Maybe. I don't know.
Forget about the skin. It apparently knows a couple words, but it says none of them.
No, it doesn't say any of them. It's a green parrot. I don't know enough about parrots to specify beyond that.
That's the species, green parrot.
Could well be green type parrot, a flying Pokemon. Mrs. McFeely loves animals so much that part of the reason she stopped by Mr. Rogers' house was to see if maybe she could see Daisy the dog.
No, Barney the dog.
Barney the dog.
Daisy the parrot.
Daisy the parrot, Barney the dog.
But she's too early.
Yeah, she's too early. And like, she knows the Bob Tro. It's
Yeah.
not like she is lacking for opportunities to see this dog. She's just swinging by. Maybe she'll see Mr. Rogers, but she'd rather see the dog.
Mm-hmm.
She does not. She goes on her way.
And the dog immediately arrives as soon as she's left. So
Yeah,
presumably she could see them approaching.
it's a small neighborhood.
She just looked into the distance. Maybe they were around a corner.
Maybe. Maybe so.
So Bob Tro then shows up.
Yeah, with the Barney the dog.
Barney
I'm no good with dog names.
or lady name.
Or names.
Barney the dog arrives
Arrives.
in the care of Bob
Bob Tro.
the Tro.
Bob Tro explains to Mr. Rogers all the things that Barney likes and their ordinary dog stuff, like scratch him behind the ears, give him pets.
He likes to be brushed.
Yeah, the stuff dogs like. I could have guessed any of that. I don't know.
Treats.
I bet, yeah.
Food.
Sure, the works.
He's very curious.
Likes being told he's a good boy. Who's a good boy? He's a good boy.
he brought these supplies in just like a brown sack, which was kind of weird.
You think you should have a specialized dog equipment carrying case?
I don't know. It just what he brought it in was like a brown pillowcase.
What else do you bring stuff in?
I don't know, like
This is the
a box.
80s.
or-
Nobody has backpacks yet,
I guess
if they're not school children.
you just carry everything in
Potato sacks.
sketchy looking potato sacks.
Yeah.
He doesn't really give Mr. Rogers a lot of instruction. He tells
No.
him he doesn't need to eat right away.
I mean, it's just like, what, one night?
So Bob Tro leaves, and we head right into
Pretty much.
the land of make
Barney gets a sort of a tour of the house, but he never goes off the leash.
right,
Because it's not really a house.
right. We don't want him wandering off into the studio.
Yeah, that'd be a problem. Well, so yeah, we head off to the land of make-believe.
Mr. Rogers introduces the land of make believe, sets up all the things that we're gonna see, and he changes the name of the Magic Electric Supersonic
Does he?
Firemobile. He changes electric to electronic, which electric means it runs on electricity, and electronic refers to devices which manipulate electrical current internally through switches.
Mm.
So,
there you go. More and more complex.
mhm.
Although we have established that actually it is controlled mostly by lasers.
Yes. Well, let's, I guess, head to the land of make believe because there's nothing else to do here.
And away we go. I'm just going to have a little nap on the trolley if that's okay.
Will you be less tired after you've had your nap?
Let's find out.
I don't know how long I should let him do this. Okay, I'm gonna stop you now because I think this will just make your problem worse.
Okay.
Bob Dog and Daniel Tiger.
Daniel Tiger is combing Bob Dog's ears.
Just kind of dragging a comb across them,
Yeah.
not running it through.
Well, because
anything.
Bob Dog has decided that for Anna's birthday, he is going to get her a picture of himself.
Yes.
A terrible gift.
Well, now this is just. If I've learned anything from Animal Crossing, this is just how animals show their friendship: is they give you a photograph of themselves.
I feel like this is a thing that some people think is a good idea and they're mistaken. It's a bad. I mean, have you ever gotten a picture of somebody from them as a present?
No.
I have.
Yeah, I don't think I would want a picture of Bob Dog.
No.
Especially in a town.
Even if I knew Bob Dog.
Especially in a town so small as this, where I probably have to interact with Bob Dog every day.
I mean, that's probably the only reason he's coming to the...
What in the world? Are we
Somebody
being
really
abducted by
turned on their
aliens?
lights.
Yikes.
Fooling with the high beams, buddy.
The whole room just illuminated with an eerie blue glow.
Yeah.
And we are on a second story window here.
Yeah, that's what happened.
But nobody got abducted.
I
was
abducted.
overreacting.
You really were. Profoundly.
Yeah, Bob Dog's getting ready for a photograph to be taken of him.
He's not unhappy with the primping that Daniel Tiger has done on him.
But he wants an enormous bow tie.
He wants a bow tie because he says most dogs get a bow tie as sort of the finishing touch when they're getting cleaned up. This is inaccurate.
I do think that Bob Dog has a very sheltered exposure to other dogs.
I have rarely seen a dog with a bow tie.
Like if you're a show dog, maybe.
Maybe.
Like a bow on the side.
Yeah, but not like a bow tie.
I think he was just...
I feel like bows are more of a kitten thing.
Yeah, maybe. Daniel Tiger has gone from a blueprint to like...
A
maybe
real
this
nice
is...
3/4 drawing.
Yeah, maybe this is the wrong way to be doing these. Usually I think you do like a mock-up and then you get into the logistics of how to...
I mean, you might have had them both.
It's a very nice mock-up.
Yeah, he is quite the draftsman.
Yeah, he is, especially compared to his work last week.
Yeah.
I think on the Tumblr this week we need a side-by-side with his drafting skills versus his just drawing the neighborhood from memory with crayons.
He's a designer. He's not an impressionist.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's a nice little drawing he's got with the Magic Electric Supersonic Firemobile.
And he's already started work on the Magic Electric Supersonic
Which he shows
Firemobile.
us, and it's a disaster.
It's a
Hot mess.
straight up disaster piece.
It is not even symmetrical.
It's just I'm actually impressed that he managed to get all those pieces together.
Yeah.
In such a Katamari Damacy.
Like there are bits where
jumble.
you can see, I can see what you were going for, and then there are bits where you're like, did you just drop some splinters on this?
I do feel like, especially comparing his draft with this, there is some disconnect in his mind where in certain settings he's just a genius, and then in other settings that entire part of his brain completely switches off and reverts to some base child level.
Like I have quite recently, as it happens, seen a small boat that was made by a child of roughly Daniel Tiger's, let's say, functional age.
Okay.
And it puts this thing to shame.
Functional age, you mean that these characters aren't aging in real time?
Yeah.
So he's not 20.
And it's unclear how old Daniel Tiger is even supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and that was a considerably more, like, it looked like a boat.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I assume he had some measure of help, this kid, because a saw was involved.
Yeah.
And a drill and whatnot. But was Daniel Tiger using a saw unsupervised?
There were nails. There were pieces, fragments of wood. There was 2 kind of circles on the side, but not on the other side.
Yeah.
It's just bad job, Daniel Tiger.
It went real bad.
Impossibly bad.
And yeah, was he not... Like, some cutting must have been involved, unless that was just the shape the scraps of wood already were in.
Maybe.
But I mean, does Daniel Tiger even have family? He seems to live alone in a clock. He's a real watchkey kid. That's a fun little play word.
Latchkey?
Yeah, but he lives in a clock,
Oh,
so
I see.
watchkey. Because
Gotcha.
old pocket watches used to have a key to wind them up.
Bob Dog convinces him that, like, oh, you had a good draft, but it doesn't matter that this isn't as good because this is real and that's not.
Daniel, I don't know if it's even Bob Dog, because Daniel Tiger's about to throw it out, and then Bob Dog is like, well, no, and then he looks at it and he's like, oh, well, actually, no, this is pretty bad. this is really quite bad. And then Daniel Tiger almost rebelliously says, well, I don't care if it's bad. That's a drawing, and that's it. He doesn't give himself any credit for designing this thing.
No, the amazing, like, I would love to have that thing framed
like
on my
it
wall.
almost sounds like they're trying to retcon the story so that this is like a kit or something. But he definitely said he invented it.
No, he did, yeah.
Yeah, he 100% invented it. Like, at this point, I would say just give her the picture.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot better than something that takes up space and does not work.
Yeah, and it's not going to be the worst picture she gets for her birthday. That's going to be a picture of Bob Dog with a bamboo cane and a bowler hat.
Falling over onto the railroad
falling
tracks.
over backwards.
Let's move on to the next scene.
Yeah. Well, before we leave, Daniel Tiger says, well, maybe he could get help from Handyman Negri or Corny at the factory.
After he gets off work.
Yeah, after work, he says. But then he says, I'll go over and talk to Corny now. So, which sort of speaks to Mike. Like, Corny is self-employed.
Mm-hmm.
He seems like he can sort of clock out whenever he feels like it. So, yeah, Bob Dog bids Daniel Tiger adieu. And
no, he doesn't bid him adieu because he doesn't know French.
Right.
As we learned in the last episode. He bids him
goodbye.
Yeah, goodbye. And he goes over to see Lady Aberlin, who is, I guess, the photographer.
Yeah, Lady Aberlin is the photographer. She has a real old camera. You need to get under a sheet to use it and everything.
They couldn't have imagined anything more modern.
Yeah, they couldn't imagine the Instamatic from earlier this week.
Well, that required a special delivery.
Yeah. I mean, if it's like a real old, like if this is, except the exposure is far too short. If this is like a mercury plate print, like they used in Western times, that becomes something worth giving to somebody. Still, maybe not of yourself.
Yeah, maybe it's kind of maybe Bob Dog's kind of a hipster.
Yeah, maybe.
He just wants that really vintage looking photograph.
And he's really full of himself.
He does wear a bowler hat.
Two huge hipster qualities.
Two things that he never uses besides when he gets his picture taken.
No, with his bow tie, which isn't a bow tie; it's just a bow.
Mm-hmm. I think he was trying to masculinize it, so he didn't feel embarrassed.
It's sort of like
liking his bow.
like a southern, like a bolo tie or like a knot tie, you know?
Yeah, it's like the kind that
Sanders might wear.
It's like the kind that Bowser wears in Mario Odyssey.
Yeah, but actually, it's just a bow, like you put on a present.
It's very big. I don't know why Daniel Tiger had that bow in his house.
Yeah, maybe this is like he could wear it as a cape. Maybe that's what the clock came wrapped in.
Maybe. He's just got all this packaging in the bottom of it.
Yeah. He's a cat.
I guess, yeah.
Of course he hangs on to
the box.
That's why he has a ribbon. That's why he has a giant ribbon. He's that big old kitty cat.
Well, he's average size.
So yeah, they take two pictures of Bob Dog standing and then leaning
slouching
real far back.
He's
on the trolley tracks.
Well, maybe I could be kind of laid back.
Oh, cool.
And when he means laid back, he means actually laying backwards on the trolley tracks.
Yeah, I was half waiting for the trolley to come by. And also, Bob Dog does a thing when he's taking pictures. It seems like he keeps his eyes closed
until the last possible second,
then flings them open. I guess to prevent blinking during the photo. And I can't tell if that's brilliant or bonkers.
Yeah, I was like, is this something that Robert Trow does?
Like, does this work?
Bob Trow.
I mean, at the very least, he doesn't seem to blink during any of the pictures.
Yeah, he gets two pictures taken.
He gets all his blinks out beforehand.
He gets his fancy one and his laid back one. And then a fanfare resounds, and the king appears.
The king appears. And he's got a little bird swing.
He's got a perch.
It's clearly a bird swing. Lady Aberlin thinks it might be for Prince Tuesday.
Yeah.
But it's not, because it's clearly a bird perch.
Correct. As usual.
Yeah. But King Friday doesn't explain that until he asks them to clean up all this stuff around the castle.
He says he's got a pet to sit on the swing, so it's not coming until everything is clean.
Which, I don't know that any of it really counts as around the castle.
No, the camera's over by the...
Bob Dog is wearing most of it. I feel like once you're on the other side of the trolley tracks, it's basically not around the castle anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But he refers to it as like cleanup time in the castle garden, which I thought was behind the castle. I don't know. But he's the king, so
the castle garden's out front.
Apparently. He's the king, so he can get people to clean up stuff whenever he wants them to.
Yeah.
And so he does, and Bob Dog just pieces out after that. He's not in this scene.
Bob
So
Dog
he
is
leaves.
among the trash that must be removed from the castle
Yeah.
garden.
Yeah. King Friday really only keeps him around to play football. He doesn't care about him like as a person.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pretty good commentary on the state of Black America.
King Friday says that the Mr. McFeely will be by with, I guess, the pet.
The parrot.
The parrot.
Yeah.
It's going to be a parrot.
I think at this point he reveals, at least that it's a bird. He makes Lady Aberlin guesses. Do you think a pet might like to sit on this? She says, I mean, if it was a bird, it might.
Right. And he says that Mr. McFeely is going to be by with the bird in 1/2. That's
Oh, I missed that.
yes,
That's pretty good.
that is how soon Mr. McFeely will be. 1/2.
Not big on units still in this show.
No. I mean, it's a very interesting culture to just have no units. It's like a language that has no
Just
prepositions.
An amount. Everything's this many or this many or this many.
Mm-hmm.
And arrive, Mr. McFeely does.
He's got a parrot, but
Yeah.
this time it's not a real daisy parrot.
This time it's a pretty decent puppet.
A puppet that doesn't move its mouth. I'm going to say a pretty lousy
A
puppet.
pretty alright puppet.
It can turn its head.
I mean, they made it for presumably one appearance in this show.
Yeah. So this parrot shows up and starts being a real smart aleck.
Yeah, it's a real insubordinate parrot, I described it as.
I tried to write down as many of the phrases that this parrot knows.
Oh.
It starts off, it just seems to be hitting on King Friday.
Yeah.
It says, "You're a sweetie. Hi, handsome." But it also knows phrases like, "Take a walk. That's cool. Hi, buddy." And at the very end of the scene, it says, "Bye-bye, Bobo."
Yeah, I feel like this parrot comes to us by way of the museum go round. These all feel like things that Lady Elaine Fairchild might say.
Yeah, they do it. I'll accept that as canon.
Yeah, I believe that. King Friday, we sort of skipped over it, wants this parrot for Anna,
Yes.
which is not the sort of pet that Anna wants, because Anna wants something you can hold and whisper secrets to.
Which we decided last week, a parrot was exactly the pet you don't want to whisper a secret to.
Right, that's true. And they're not super cuddly, because they have brittle hollow bones.
And talons.
And talons.
Sharp talons.
Yeah. Also, as a platypus, I wonder if she would find it odd to have a pet with a similar face.
It's like having a pet monkey.
Exactly. That's weird. You shouldn't do that. Because they'll rip your face off.
Yeah.
And a parrot might rip a platypus's face off. I don't know. I haven't seen that episode of Animal Fights on Discovery. That's probably a show, right?
Maybe.
Who would win in a fight, a parrot or a platypus?
Yeah, that sounds like a thing. And
Bear in mind, Anna is a lady and doesn't have the poisonous barb on her heel,
Mm.
which is going to be a real asset in combat.
King Friday, it was not prepared for how much this parrot
No.
would bother him.
Which works out well because it was not a good pet for Anna/him. Like, at no point did they have to explain that, no, King Friday, you've made a bad decision for Anna, because it becomes rapidly apparent that he has made a bad decision for him.
Yes.
So it is moot. Which is, it's a little sad because I feel like King Friday is real into birds. But it turns out maybe not parrots.
He's real into one bird, and that bird is Troglodytes aeaten.
Who returns again to make King Friday feel better, basically.
Yeah. He sings the song again.
Yeah.
Halfway through, he asks Lady Aberlin to kiss it.
Yeah. And then Lady Aberlin asks Troglodytes aidin to kiss King Friday.
Yeah,
Which
you
makes
see
him
how
feel
you
a
like
lot
it.
better. I really like this relationship,
Uh-huh.
King Friday and his wooden bird.
I was thinking I really like the dynamic between Lady Aberlin and her various puppet relatives.
Yeah,
Like on most children's shows, I feel like the humans are just nice to the puppets.
right.
Whereas Lady Aberlin has this really interesting familial relationship with her various puppet relatives.
Yeah,
Where she, like, on a certain level, it's clear that although she doesn't state it explicitly, she cannot stand these people a lot of the time.
yeah.
But she still loves them.
It's very true to the relationship that you might have if you had, say, an uncle like King Friday or an aunt
Like, Lady Elaine.
Elaine Fairchild. Boy, those are some Thanksgivings, I bet you. Like, you know King Friday is going to make a big deal of being real nice today Lady Elaine Fairchild, because he's going to be hosting, he's going to be like, I'm not going to let her bother me. Going to be a magnanimous host and all that stuff. And then Lady Elaine Fairchild is just going to take that opportunity to needle him at every opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then it gets real passive aggressive. It's a real Gilmore Girls sort of dynamic.
Yeah. In this, Lady Aberlin is really annoyed, like, oh boy, here goes my uncle King Friday again, trying to force his view of the world upon others. And then she finally is quite pleased with herself that this parrot idea does not work out, because she knows that's not.
And she could just say, "Please get rid of him. He's making you upset," or whatever.
King Friday, after he's thoroughly embarrassed by this whole failed parrot idea, kind of acknowledges this by saying, "You are amused, I presume."
Yeah.
And she's like, No, I'm just...
Which she denies.
Yeah.
And to be fair, she seemed as distressed as anybody by the whole thing.
But I think there was a certain level of relief, like, oh good, this...
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh good, this is obviously
this problem has resolved itself without my intervention.
Mm-hmm.
But, and then she does one better and suggests that, hey, this might be a good swing for Anna Platypus.
Yeah.
Which adds a whole other layer I had considered, which is that this bird is the size of King Friday and Anna Platypus. This is an enormous parrot.
Yeah, I suppose
that's
in relation.
That's horrifying.
Last week we had a bird the size of Lady Aberlin, so...
Mm-hmm. I recently saw a statue. I posted this on Twitter.
Of a big
pterodon? A life-size statue of a Quetzalcoatlus, which was the largest pterodactyl type bird.
I saw that. It was very cool.
And it was like, it's very cool, but also something about seeing it next to a person was like viscerally upsetting to me.
Oh no, its head is the size of a yacht.
Yeah, it's like, something about it was just scary to look at.
This is the first bird I've ever seen that
in a way that was
snatch me, an adult man, in its clutches and take me away.
Yeah, I mean, clutch is nothing. Could swallow you whole. It was, you get at what Lovecraft was talking about. This is a thing that just looking at it is upsetting.
Yeah.
So King Friday is all about this swing idea. I still think it's a bad swing.
Yeah,
it's going to hurt. Pretty small bar.
Yeah,
put a seat on that thing, I would say, and you've got
okay
swing.
Anna Platypus or any of the puppet people in this world are just going to be leaning their backs on the bar and moving forward.
Maybe she'll get real into trapeze. And then King Friday says a little poem about how great swings are.
And then he attributes it to Robert Louis Stevenson.
Yeah, he says King Friday, Robert Louis Stevenson and I, or something like that, which seems to imply that he knows Robert Louis Stevenson.
I can't say if I've ever
heard
of Robert Louis Stevenson.
But he wrote Treasure Island.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's probably what spurred King Friday's interest in parrots.
Could well be. He also wrote a poem called The Swing.
Oh.
Which King Friday paraphrases here.
We're kind of done here in the land of make-believe.
Yeah. King Friday says some other vaguely poetical things, but none of them are written by Robert Louis Stevenson.
So let's head back to Mr. Rogers' Reality Town.
All right.
I don't know what to call it anymore now that we know it's called reality.
Yeah. Up in the air and over the wall, till I can see so wide. Rivers and trees and cattle and all over the countryside.
This
Till I look down on the garden green, down on the roof so brown. Up in the air I go flying again, up in the air and down. Robert Louis Stevenson.
I think that nap on the way here really helped you out.
I did, didn't it? I'm all peppy.
I'm not sure if I like you more
I got
this
a
way.
Song in my heart.
But it's easier to work with in an edit.
And then Mr. Rogers, does he show the dog under the table?
Yeah, he says, the dog was just looking around. You missed it, but now he's tired and sleeping.
He's all tuckered out now.
I'm going to move the dog under the table where I have arranged for it a blanket.
Does he leave it under the table? Or does he just show it the blanket under the table and then go back to sit down?
No, he leaves it under the table while he sings a song about curiosity.
Right. This song I thought was ominous.
I thought this song was great.
It's great, but it's a little ominous.
He's singing about curiosity, And he pulls out the telephone receiver from the wall, and he says, "When I was younger, and then he bursts into this minor key song about how he wishes he could look inside the telephone.
And that's perfectly legitimate curiosity.
Verse 2.
Verse 2, I wish I could look in the old trunk, but I'm not allowed to. What is in that trunk? That is my note here in all capital. What is in the trunk?
Did Mr. Rogers' parents murder somebody?
Yeah. Is it a body? Is it just like
illicit paraphernalia?
Exactly. Maybe it's their bong collection.
Drugs. Maybe it's just
rows and rows of satin gloves.
Why is he not allowed to look inside the trunk?
What's in the trunk?
A smaller trunk.
What's in the box? What's in the box? Is it I forget her name. And she was in, I believe, 7. And it was her head in the box. Spoilers, I guess, for that movie.
But I didn't have any plans to watch it.
That's fair. It was her Halloween costume this year, though. She put a box on her head. It's a pretty good costume. Gwyneth Paltrow. Her name is Gwyneth Paltrow.
Not supposed to look inside the trunk.
Something's in that trunk.
Like, it's not even like he's not allowed to open it and mess around.
Yeah, no.
He's not allowed to know what is in that trunk.
Yeah, he's not allowed to see inside there.
They won't even tell him.
No. What's up with this trunk? It's not like, oh, that trunk's, not safe. Like, we had a trunk. Mom has a trunk. That I don't think we were ever, allowed to open. But, she had it open.
And we were not forbade to know what was inside it.
No. Baby photos, it turns out, mostly.
Yeah.
Old baby photos.
Mr. McFeely shows up.
Yeah.
He's got, he really just wants to see the dog, if we're honest.
Yeah. They're all animal crazy, these guys.
Mr. McFeely has brought a foam lizard on a leash.
Yeah, that old trick.
He says that his friend invented it.
His friend didn't invent it, I doubt very much. Somebody in San Francisco probably invented it.
And then tried selling them at a kiosk.
Yeah, everywhere.
It's definitely a kiosk item.
Yeah.
Did you have any notes from Mr. McFeely's visit? It just kind of ended abruptly.
He's got a foam lizard toy that his friend absolutely did not invent.
He was hoping the dog would be interested in it, but the dog, whatever.
No, the dog is plumb tuckered out.
Mm-hmm. Mr. McFeely has to leave right away. He says, I guess I should get going. I gotta make this delivery. I have a friend who said they wanted to see this. So, Mr. Rogers is not the only one who just has Mr. McFeely making deliveries and then taking the deliveries back.
Yeah.
This
is more of a roving museum.
Yeah, it seems like maybe Speedy Delivery is more of like a subscription service.
Thing of the month club.
Like a loot crate that you don't have to keep anything.
Yeah. It's like an oral newsletter.
Yeah. It's just like I'm subscribing to random visits from this delivery man who will have random objects that he will show me
about his day.
Take back with him.
Yeah. Mr. McFeely is just on a list somewhere where he's getting a lot of free samples from different Sunday school curriculum companies.
Yeah. I guess that about wraps it up for today.
Yeah, I'm all out of notes.
I'm Steven.
I'm Andrew.
And we're doing this at the end of the episode this week.
Yeah. You know who we are at this point.
Yeah, I hope so.
This is a bad episode to start on.
We never say our names.
No, we never did, do we? Oh, dear.
So that was episode 1498. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Next week, we'll be back with Volume 2, Episode 14, or 1499.
Ooh, 1499.
Be sure to check out the Tumblr, please won't you be my.tumblr.com.
For all sorts of things we've suggested having pictures of, and some we haven't thought of yet.
Our theme song was provided by Dan Brisbane.
Dan, he's our man. If he can't do it, we're out of luck, because we certainly can't. Theme song-wise.
And our trolley transition tune was made by Rondale.
He's a guy, from the internet.
Yep. Well, we'll be back when the week is new.
We'll have more ideas for you.
Andrew, I know you will have things you want to talk about.
Talk about and yawn about. I'll do both.
I hope you won't.
Oh. Okay. I'll try not to.
Just try to get some rest.
So let's make the most of this beautiful day. Since we're together, we might as well say, would you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you please? Won't you please? Please please, won't you be my neighbor? Won't you please, won't you please, please, won't you be my podcast?
I wish that I could look inside our trunk at home. It's very old, and I'm not supposed to look.